Azzopardi was standing by the parapet of the yacht, about to pee, when the sail behind him hit him on the back. Luckily Azzopardi grabbed the railing and climbed up. After being frightened, Azzopardi dared not defecate anywhere. Azzopardi went back to the cabin to use the bathroom. At this time, the toilet door suddenly closed automatically. Azzopardi thought it was the wind and didn't care, but after Azzopardi finished urinating, he found that the toilet door was locked. Azzopardi couldn't open the door no matter how hard he twisted it. He took the coin out of his body and tried to unscrew the screw. It doesn't work at all. He came to the mirror, opened the locker, and found a pair of scissors from it, but still can't unscrew the screw. At this time, he heard a voice from the radio outside, and listened closely to his ears. It turned out that the freighter was about to hit his ship, and he was asked to adjust the direction quickly. Azzopardi ran to the window and looked out. Not far away, a huge freighter was heading towards Azzopardi. Azzopardi hit the door lock with something. It didn't work. Kicked the door, didn't work. Body banging, didn't work. Azzopardi undressed and waved towards the freighter. The freighter did not respond. Azzopardi stuck his head out of the window, which was too small. Couldn't squeeze out at all. If the head is squeezed out and can't be taken back, then the only option is to die. It occurred to Azzopardi that by stopping the ship, he might be able to avoid the freighter, so he reached out the window, grabbed a rope, tied a knot in it, and threw it into the sea. The rope was quickly wrapped around the propeller. The rope stretched suddenly, tying Azzopardi's neck tightly. Azzopardi stuck his hand out the window, and Azzopardi touched a pole. Azzopardi propped the rope apart with a pole. Before Azzopardi could rest, the freighter crashed into him. Azzopardi was relieved that the cargo ship rubbed against the sailboat and did not collide. But soon, he heard movement outside the door. Azzopardi called a few times, but there was no response. Azzopardi looked out the window and saw that the rope had snapped. The sailboat is sailing towards an unknown destination. At this time, the cabin began to seep water in continuously, and it soon flowed into the toilet. Azzopardi catches water in a cup and throws it out the window. However, a greater danger is slowly approaching him. The sailboat sailed quickly towards the stormy area without a driver. Soon, a violent storm hit. The whole sailboat swayed from side to side. The rainwater kept pouring into the cabin, and the toilet was filled with more and more water. Azzopardi found a blade and cut the rope that controlled the sail. With the canvas lowered, the sailboat stopped moving. Azzopardi closed the window and fell asleep hugging the railing. When he awoke, it was daylight, and the storm had died down. Azzopardi's whole body was paralyzed, and he moved his limbs. After recovering some body functions, Azzopardi hit the door again. Azzopardi kicked the door with his foot, but the toilet door never budged. Azzopardi poked out of the water. Azzopardi dived into the water again, and banged on the door, which was finally knocked open by Azzopardi. He looked back at the toilet, then ran quickly to the deck. Azzopardi found a few airbags and a toilet door panel to make a simple life raft. But rowing and rowing, he stopped. Azzopardi looked around. The sea was vast, and there was no land at all. Azzopardi knows that it is difficult to survive at sea. Azzopardi thought for a moment before deciding to return to the boat. Once on board, he found the battery and the small water pump. Azzopardi made a simple water pump to drain the water in the cabin and repair the hull. Azzopardi came to the deck to trim the sails. Azzopardi saw a freighter sailing. Azzopardi immediately jumped into the water, climbed into the homemade life raft, and rowed towards the freighter. At this time, the stalled sailboat suddenly moved automatically. Azzopardi was about to be hit by the sailboat and Azzopardi jumped into the water quickly. The life raft was rammed and sank into the sea. In this way, Azzopardi remained in the sea. At night, he finds creatures swimming to him in the sea. Azzopardi was horrified. It turned out to be a few dolphins. Azzopardi plays with dolphins. But not long after, the dolphins suddenly scattered away. Azzopardi saw the sailboat come to a stop by itself. Azzopardi was even more frightened, but he had been in the cold water for hours, and by this time, his strength was exhausted. Azzopardi can only board this eerie sailboat. Azzopardi came to the bedroom, wrapped himself in a quilt and went to sleep. The next day, he was jolted awake by a jolt, and looked out the window to see the sailboat moving fast. Azzopardi wanted to go out to have a look, but the door couldn't be opened again. This time Azzopardi went inside to find a way out. Sure enough, behind the toilet lid, he found a hidden door. He opened the secret door and suddenly heard footsteps. He quickly climbed in, but the glass window above the exit was locked. No matter how hard Azzopardi tried, he couldn't open the window. At this time, the hidden door below suddenly closed automatically, and Azzopardi was trapped in a small, confined space. Azzopardi struggled violently, begging the other party to let him go. But no matter how he shouted, no one answered him. As the air in the tunnel became thinner, he began to have difficulty breathing, and gradually lost consciousness. Just when he was about to suffocate, the hidden door suddenly opened automatically. He cautiously came to the door, stretched out his hand and twisted the doorknob, and the door could be opened. What's even more strange is that the overturned boat actually docked. Azzopardi jumped out of the boat, picked up the iron bar, and tried to punish his teasers. But it turned out that there was no one there, just like the boat. And at this moment, he saw the ship start to sail again. Azzopardi followed the sailboat along the shore until a high wall blocked his view. He ran up quickly, but found that the sailboat disappeared on the sea unexpectedly. Azzopardi watched it all in disbelief.